calling. You've reached Kat Vine and her show Cat Calls that I do every Thursday. I started off, I was doing like a third person and then we fell into first person and it messed up my whole vibe, but it doesn't matter because you're here. Thank you so much for coming. And if you're not here and you're watching this later on YouTube, because yes, I do put all of my episodes of Cat Calls up on YouTube after the fact, then consider this your personal invitation to come through live and watch Cat Calls at twitch.tv/catvine every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. PT. Because, gosh darn it, the girl Jackie's here, the Casey Michael's here, the intro is always amazing, and it's even more amazing when you join the show. Anywho, I'm not just here to talk to the future viewers of YouTube, I'm here to talk to you, the current users, gamers, people, everybody, stuff. Did I tell you that I just got back from vacation? Because I feel like I'm still getting my brain in order, but it's fine because today's guest is super lovely and he's not going to judge me for having an applesauce brain. Everybody, please give 3 loud rounds of applause for Ford, everybody. Ford, yes. Absolutely incredible talent. I am so excited. This is my first time getting to speak with Ford, although I have been a fan of his music for many years, okay? Ever since he first started releasing music on Odessa's Foreign Family Collective, I have just been struck by the emotion behind this music, and it's even wilder that Ford was super, super young when he got started, okay? He's been called a prodigy. He's certainly a master of his craft. He's got a sound all his own, and I would dare to say it's not just a sound, it's a mood. It's like a whole enveloping experience from beginning to end. It's calming, rich, it's ambient, and what I find most interesting is that it's full of this like warm softness and all these fluffy human textures like the sound of vinyl records, and it's great. He played Coachella when he was 17, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna ask and double check about that, but he's only 21 now, and he just released his sophomore album, The Color of Nothing. It is, as I said, out on Odessa's Foreign Family Collective, which if you're not familiar with Foreign Family, you need to get familiar because all the music is fantastic. The Color of Nothing came out in October. He just this month, I believe, dropped a reprise version, which features remixes and acoustic versions, kind of stripped down versions, other reinterpretations of the album songs, but also a few previously unreleased tracks. So make sure you give that a spin as well. Before I bring him on screen, I want to play a clip from the original release. The single is called In My Eyes, and it features lovely vocals from Verzache. No, I'm pretty sure it's Verzache. I'm sorry, I'm just going on a tangent. The video is super, super cool. Ford worked with an animator to bring this together, and it's not the only time Ford worked with this animator, so we will chat all about that as well. And we're just gonna get to know Ford better because, as I said, this is my first time chatting with him, and I'm really excited, and I already know he's super lovely because we had a little catch-up, a little hello before the show started. So without further ado, I want to play In My Eyes for you, and when we come back, Ford will be in your eyes because he'll be here on the screen, and you'll still be here, right? Right? You're not going anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Watch the video. Come back and we'll party.
I don't know why I'm clapping for myself. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, you deserve a round of applause because that video for In My Eyes, first of all, the song In My Eyes is absolutely gorgeous, and the video is gorgeous as well. I know you can't take all the credit for that, but the Casey Michael, he just had his mind blown, and Sky T was just loving the beautiful animation, and I want to make Girl Jackie was dizzy. It was so wonderful. So
dizzy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. That means the most.
Yeah. Why don't we start by talking about In My Eyes and that music video? I know that you chose it in particular because you had such a great time working with the animator, but I'd love to hear the story behind that one.
Yeah. I mean, so that song was actually one of the last songs that I think I wrote off the album. It came together pretty quickly and pretty naturally. I had the idea. The chords were sort of sitting around for a while, and I knew I wanted to do something with them. But I didn't really know. It never came to fruition. I couldn't get an idea that felt like it stuck. And then I sort of started building these drums around it, and then I sent it to my buddy Zach, and we just wrapped the whole song up pretty quickly. And then I'd been working on trying to do music videos for the album. And so I had reached out to this guy, Mitch Pond, who goes by the name Man Mantis. And he had done this music video for another musician that I really liked. And I just really wanted to work with him. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, I know we're in a pandemic right now and we can't exactly, do this face to face, but is there any way that we can do like a music video or something like that? And so yeah, he said, we can do it. We just have to do it remotely. I'll get on FaceTime. And then your buddy, if you have someone that can film, will just film all of these different shots of you doing all these different things, picking up a plate, bringing it over here, the even spinning, going up in the water, all of that. I had to do it standing in a tunnel, which was some bike path. And we just needed a blank background. And we just filmed this whole video, and I kept doing these scenes for about 3 or 4 days with my buddy, and we banged out every single shot, and then he would trace it and do what the process is called rotoscoping.
Yes.
And he made the whole video after that. And so we just kind of went back and forth, did all these clips until we finished up the video. And it was super fun. It was a really, really good process. So
yeah, well, I was going to ask you, when we were in the kind of virtual green room, so to speak, one of the things I was stopping myself from saying was, is this rotoscope? Because I'm a huge fan. I love Waking Life, the movie by Richard Linklater, if anyone's ever seen it. And I've learned to I know rotoscope when I see it. That's so cool that you got to do that.
Yeah, it's a really fun way to go about it. And I like that you can still add the way that Mitch did it. He was able to animate, more imagery into the actual footage that we, filmed. And so I think that's what's so cool about rotoscoping in the animation process. And so I don't know if I'll do it in the future again. I think it'd be really fun to do it for a future music video, but Mitch just made it really easy, and it was just super streamlined. So it was nice.
Yeah, well, shout out making a connection like that during the wildest, weirdest year on record.
So, crazy times.
Okay, well, I want to go into so many things, and shout out Clearly Blurry as well for coming through. They were excited they made it. But this is my first time getting a chat with you, so I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit and go back in time. I heard that you had someone called it on the internet once, nomadic childhood. And I want to know what that means and why they used that word.
Yeah, I guess you could call it, I don't know if you could call it nomadic. My dad's job basically took us around outside the U.S. for most of my life. My parents grew up here in Utah, which is where I'm at now. But then my dad's profession basically took them outside, and they wanted to have an international life. They wanted to be able to live and travel. And so we moved a lot. I was born in France, and then we moved to Germany, and then Singapore, Switzerland, back to Germany. And then I finished high school there, came out to Utah to do college. And as I started doing my classes, I was sort of balancing music and university at the same time. And I just decided I'm going to go all in with this music thing. I can't commit 50% to one thing and 50% to the other thing. So
yeah, that's something else I want to talk to you about, but we just whirlwinded through 5 different countries.
Yeah, you just gotta kind of cycle through all the countries. Yeah, it's a lot, but yeah, I think that it's definitely contributed to how I write my music and the music I listen to now. And so I'm really grateful that I had that opportunity to grow up and see a lot of stuff in my younger years, if you can even call it that. I'm not old or anything. So
well, I appreciate that you have that grand life scale perspective, because most 21-year-olds think they do know everything, myself included at the time.
Yeah, it'll be like that. I catch myself doing that sometimes too, though, so it's okay.
It's totally fine. Renzo was shouting out the France peace sign to the French part of your existence. Yes. How long were you living in France?
So my parents moved to, and I'm not going to butcher this because I know someone will make fun of me, Verzache, which is where I was born.
Oh, where the castle is.
Exactly, yeah. So I was born close to the castle. My mom loves to talk about that for some reason.
She's like, it was my house. We lived there.
It was born in the castle. It's no big deal. But yeah, we lived there for about 3 years, and then we moved to Pennsylvania for about 10 months. That's like a little tiny tidbit in there because my dad's job was like, hey, we're gonna put you on assignment over here just for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we went back to Paris. So all in all, we were there for 7 or 8 years, I think.
Well, but everyone knows Pennsylvania is the Paris of the United States.
Exactly. It's the Paris of the United States. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
They both start with P's.
Exactly. It's close enough.
Exactly. Yeah. What does your dad do that he was running around so much? If you can say, if he's a CIA agent, then don't tell us.
He worked in medicine. He worked in the HR department for a pharmaceutical company for a while, and he's changed jobs. I think he changed to go work for a company that made, medical devices, defibrillators, things like that.
Wow.
So that's what he did for a while, but he works in HR. And so they would put him on assignment and we moved around a lot, but now they're in Germany, they're hanging out there and I'm very excited. I'm going back to see him soon. So.
I know. Yes. That is congratulations. That deserves applause as well for you and from everyone. And I hope everyone out there watching gets to see their family soon too. 'Tis the season.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So did you also learn, yeah, Alex is saying secret agent man, that seems to fit. Did you are you multilingual? What was it actually like to be a kid in all these different countries?
So I speak French and German. My French is very, excuse me, it's very rough. And my German is all right, but I have been away from learning that language for so long because it's a whole different thing when you're in the country and you're immersed in it all the time and you're talking to people daily in the language. But once I moved away and I was really focused on music, it made it hard for me to keep up my language skills. So that's something I want to get into in the coming year is sort of going back and making sure I don't lose that. So, but yeah, it's just two. My parents are another story. I mean, they can speak way too many languages, but I don't know. What are you going to do?
That's so cool, though. Do your parents play instruments? Are they partially what got you into this world of music?
So my dad is not musically talented at all whatsoever. He can't hold a single note, and I know that he won't, be offended by that because he fully embraces it, But my mom's side of the family is classically trained musicians. My grandma was an opera singer, and my dad was my grandfather was a violist, and he was a violist professor at the university here in Utah for a while. Wow. So that's what my mom was raised in, was classical music training, and they sort of wanted to impart that onto me. But I wasn't a huge fan of the Pachelbel's canon and all the different, all this musical practice, all that stuff. It just wasn't my thing. And, within a few years, I just kind of didn't want to take lessons and I started playing by ear. And so I stuck with that ever since then. And I've just been playing piano by ear.
That's amazing. So, yeah.
Thanks. I wish I knew theory. I really wish I did, but it's something that I'll get to one day.
It's surprising how many electronic musicians in particular have just no theoretical training whatsoever, but you can,
it's pretty consistent.
You can find, when it sounds good, if I guess maybe some people don't, but.
That's how I see it. I feel like if you can hear it in your head, then you can lay it down. I feel like a lot of people just have an ear for that. I don't know. I feel like it's something that you develop. So. Yeah.
I read that you started making electronic music in the 6th grade.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's yeah, that's funny.
Why is it funny?
It's funny because when I think about, I started off making music because I think in 5th or 6th grade, EDM music and all that stuff really came into the mainstream. And I think that I didn't really understand it at the time. I was raised on 70s rock from my dad and classical music, and then a lot of just hip hop, just a bunch of different stuff from my older siblings, basically.
Yeah.
And eventually, when that came around, it kind of was a revelation for me that you can make music in your room on a program, and there were people that were out there doing this. And so I just started getting into it. I wanted to make like dubstep and like really just very aggressive stuff that is not, if you listen to my music now, you wouldn't think that that's how I got started.
Yeah.
But it was a very foundational experience for me because I think that it teaches you the ins and outs of how to make the music and the programs and all these different, technical things. And I think that was really important for me. And so I ended up kind of giving up on that. I think in about 8th grade, I was like, I'm not making any progress here.
My dubstep career is over. I'm done with this.
I was already peaking in 6th grade, and by 8th grade, my career kind of tapered off.
Yeah, you started to want to make out with girls, and you're like, fuck
exactly,
this dubstep shit.
Yeah. But by that time, I had started listening to very different music. I had been on this like EDM streak for a long, long time. And so then I came back to making music because this buddy of mine said, hey, for a class project, we need to write an album. We need to make an album. Like he wanted to do this creative project. It was part of our school's curriculum or whatever they did.
And pause real quick. What country are you in at this time?
This is in Germany. Sorry. So this is high school when we were in Frankfurt. And they had this program in the IB where you have to do a creative project. And so he said, hey, we're going to do an album. And I hadn't done music or anything music related in a long, long time. And he said, I heard you made beats. And so I got involved, and that kind of sparked my interest to get back into making beats again, was this little album that my friends and I made. And so from that point on, I started working on completely, new kinds of music that I hadn't really tried to explore before. And then it just kind of went from there. So that's the long story short of how I got from 6th grade to now.
Okay, couple questions. Caleb Schmitty is saying they went to the same school in Germany as you, and you're the GOAT. So I don't know if you guys were classmates together, or if you're just a legend now at this school. But that's really cool.
If that's the same Caleb I know, then that's awesome. Yeah,
that's awesome. Shout out, Caleb. You're the GOAT for coming through. Also, Foreign Family wants to know where this album's at, sir.
Where's the album at?
Yeah.
Like where, like in general, like where is it at, or just like
where is it at? You got it? You got it saved on some hard drive?
It's out everywhere. I mean, you can go on. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. I don't know. You can find it anywhere you want.
How do we find it? What's the name of your school project? You're like, don't ask me this.
I'm just like never prepared for these. Like, all right, I need the quick link. I need to know where to send people.
Oh, you don't need the link, but what did you release it under? Like a band name? Like what? How would I search for it?
Yeah. Oh, my old album. I thought you were talking about my new album.
No. Your school. Your school project. We know where to find your album. I'm so sorry that I disturbed you. No.
That makes total sense. That's my fault. So we put the album out on Spotify through DistroKid, I believe. It's a distributing service that you can use to put music out on.
Yeah.
And then my friend gave up on paying for a subscription service after a few years, and the album was lost, in the abyss. So I've never been able to find it again. I don't even have the original files myself. So if I find it on a hard drive one day,
it's like you have a real Bloghouse release. It's just lost in the ether.
Lost in the ether, and I'm never going to find it again. It's really sad.
Oh,
but,
Nat Rivers wants to know what the name of the album was. Do you remember?
Oh my gosh. There's like a number of names. I knew the title tracks. It was In the City.
Ooh.
My buddy's name, he went by the name Freddie White Tea. That was his name. I thought it was very slick. I think we workshopped a couple different ideas before we found like the perfect fit.
Yeah.
It was just some like creative class project that he had to do. Got a couple points on it. It was fun. And so
that's so cool.
It was really, really small, but that kind of pushed me to like, I'll try to make some beats again. And then I met, other friends while I was trying to make beats. And so.
Wow, that's such a cool, that there right there shows you why we need the arts in schools, everybody.
You never know how you're going to find, the person that you start making like a really fun song with, or I don't know. If I hadn't, made that little album in 6th grade, I probably wouldn't have gotten back into making beats, and I would have met this person who introduced me to this person. And it's always how it goes. There's just a lot of little things that you don't think about. So.
Also amazing that you and your friend use this as an opportunity. I don't know if it was part of the class project to learn how to use DistroKid and things like that. Like that seems so far forward thinking to me than most, like, I don't know, teenagers making songs.
Someone's knocking at my door right now.
Oh, you can check it. Do you need to check it?
He's good. No, it's just my girlfriend's brother just peeked his head in for a second. He's just saying what's up.
What's up, girlfriend's brother?
He just came to get the dog. I should have shown the dog. He was here just hanging out the entire time.
You had a dog and you did not share it with the internet?
I'll bring him back later. I'll make sure he gets some camera time. Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Well, we're all excited.
But sorry, what were you saying? You were saying DistroKid, right?
I just think it's really impressive that you guys had that opportunity to learn how to use that stuff. Like that doesn't seem intuitive to me. But maybe I'm so far removed from teenagerdom, I don't realize that all the kids know how to use DistroKid.
Yeah. I think that we just wanted to see if we could, fully independently make some album and figure out on our own how to put it out. And I think that even though we weren't thinking about how big of a thing that was to like look into how to distribute your music, because now, it seems so straightforward to a lot of people, how to get your music out there. But at the time, we were freshmen in high school. We didn't know what we were doing. So I think it was good. And I think that afterwards it allowed me to get more interested in, how can I get my music up on streaming services? And, I was introduced to people that taught me more about the industry. And so I think it's a chain of events that usually leads to things like that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, let's talk about the beginning of Ford, the inception of Ford. When you made this album with your friend for school, was that anywhere close to the kind of feeling that we now get when we listen to your music, or is that something that came afterward?
No. I don't think so. It was pretty goofy music. I mean, like at the time we loved it and we were like really rocking with it and we thought it was the coolest, music that we'd ever heard. But it was just like, hip hop beats and just kind of messing around. I didn't know how to mix it all. It sounded terrible. It was just super disgusting. I mean, like, and some people like that, I guess it was like a stylistic thing, but, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just kind of having fun with it. And so, yeah, I don't know.
So when did the sound, I was thinking to myself today, you have a very unique sound, but I feel like it's almost more tied to like a feeling or a mood for me. So I almost want to say, like, when did you find this mood, this like emotional kind of pocket that you've created for yourself?
I don't really know. I know that a lot of people have said that to me, that it like there's a very distinct thing that they can't put their finger on, I guess. But I don't really know if I try to actively channel like an emotion or anything. I think I gravitate towards instruments and sounds that I like, and then I try to relate them to whatever is going on in my life and try to make music that can connect to things that are going on. Like if I'm out of it, I might make like a really sad thing, and then later I listen back to it and I can hear how I was feeling in that moment. So I don't know if it's me actively trying to channel one emotion, but more just like a stream of consciousness kind of thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, totally. And I've read you say that, I should say, in interviews before.
I've said these things a lot, so they just they come back into my head. But yeah, that's really how it goes. It's just like I sit down and I just make whatever comes to me. I don't try to think about it too much. I think when you overthink it is that's when the issues come, and that's when you start to second guess yourself and things like that. So.
Yeah. And I've also heard artists say things like, oh, you create something and then you realize what it means later. Like, oh, this represents something else to me now.
That's super, super accurate. That's actually a really, really good point that you're making, because there are even songs on the new album now that I'll listen to. And at the time that I made them, I was maybe channeling something completely different, but I'll listen to them in a completely different context later down the line. And it it speaks like it's totally different to me, and I receive the song in a different way. And I don't, not that I'm like listening to my songs all the time to like see if I feel something different.
Yeah,
but
just
like
let me tap
I'll go
in.
back exactly. I'll go back. I'll usually, I feel like it's pretty consistent. I'll listen to my music a lot before I put it out, and then once it's out, I step away from it for a while, and I can't really listen to it again because I've heard it so many times.
Yeah.
But I'll come back to it later and be able to listen to it with fresh ears, which I think is nice. And it allows me to sort of listen to it from sort of the perspective of, you know, someone else who's never heard it, anything like that before. So I don't know. That's pretty much it.
That's it. That's all it is. It's simple. 1, 2, 3. Well, what do you remember about the first moment that Odessa reached out to you and were interested in your music? What about when those listeners first picked up what you were putting down?
I can't even, it feels like a completely, I mean, the past year feels like 10 years, so it's hard enough to like back 5 years.
That's true.
I remember I was in English class and I opened up my email.
Wait, in what country? In Germany again?
In Germany, Frankfurt, in high school. I was in I think it was senior year of high school, and I was sitting in English class and I got an email from Foreign Family Collective, and it was this guy named Kyle, who now is my manager, funny enough. But he was the rep for Foreign Family, and he reached out to me and he said, hey, Clay from Odessa has been following your SoundCloud for a little bit and just kind of watching from a bit. And when I read that, you know, I've been a fan of them since like 6th grade. So I was just freaking out.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And it was really good timing too, because it was right at the end of my senior year. And I was thinking, all right, this is it. Like, this is my big break. I'm going for it. I'm just going to go. And like, I didn't really think about the extent to like which it would go. But I basically arranged to go fly out to Seattle that summer and meet everyone at the label. And I just got to know everybody, and everyone was super nice, super, super welcoming. And I just instantly was like, all right, these are the people that I want to work with. And so that's kind of what led to me going to Utah, going to college, and then getting the tour offers from the label. And I said, all right, I'm just going to go with this and just keep touring and commit to this and just kind of say whatever happens, you know. So
Foreign Family is funny in the chat. They're like, hope English class was teaching you how to respond to business emails. They're like, as per my last email, I will be on recess at
oh yeah,
no,
most definitely. Yeah, no, it was a really good foundational experience for me.
Oh my God. And you're lucky that you found a group of people that are kind and caring, because to be so young and entering the music business, like, talk about a minefield for real.
It is so easy, especially for young artists nowadays, to be taken advantage of by a lot of really big labels, because there are so many talented young artists, like that I could list like 5 off the top of my head that are on SoundCloud that no one is listening to. But
do it. Name a couple. Not to put you on the spot, but I'd love to know a couple who and
Majiro's one. I mean, he just remixed I think you guys watched that before the stream. He remixed the song that you watched before the stream. Phantom Power, Olswell, Olswel. This kid is 17.
Wow.
Phenomenal. I mean, these they're crazy. And so it's very easy for young musicians to be taken advantage of. And I'm very lucky that I met Foreign Family and that they're the label that they are, and they are that upfront, because it's very rare. And I don't think I'd have it any other way. There were a lot of instances where I could have gone the other direction, and if I had, I don't think I'd be in the same position that I am today. So not to be all salesman-y for Foreign Family, but like, they are really a great label. So
yeah, well, family's in the name, so you'd hope that they try to live up to the what's one thing that you've learned from the Foreign Family, shall we say, that you might want to impart on young or old artists out there?
That's a good question. I would just say, I mean, in my experience, I guess if I can give any advice based off of my experience, is that like Foreign Family, I feel like it's important to surround yourself with creative people that share your interests and share your values and what you want to, go for. And I think that being surrounded by that kind of creativity breeds so much more creativity. And I think that's what Foreign Family does so well, is that they're constantly, I mean, the label's like, it's not a competition, but like I am constantly inspired by releases that come out on the label. And because it's such a tight knit community, I can, reach out to someone on the label and we can talk about music stuff. And there's like that not disposal, but there's people there that you can talk to and you can interact with and share your music with. And I think that's a huge thing. And I think that was important and massive for me coming up, was having a community to talk to and to share my ideas and just stuff like that with. So I think that's the one thing I can say.
Yeah, that's great advice. Surround yourself with people that reflect your values, I think, is great advice no matter what industry you're in or your life, just your life.
Yeah, definitely.
So clearly Blurry was asking before, and no, baby, wait, you did not miss Fjord. Clearly Blurry was asking, what did you study in college? What were you studying? And I think you said that you dropped out of school after a while, which we can touch on.
I did 2 semesters, yeah. So I did this is another story that I won't go into, but my parents wanted me to go straight into summer school or straight into college right out of my graduation.
Wow.
And so basically I said, okay, I'll do it. I did a summer job out in Washington. And in between that summer job, I went to go meet the label, but then I came back, did the summer semester, and then went right into the next semester for the fall. And then at that point, I was thinking, all right, the touring is picking up. I'm going to kind of take it off. But I wanted to go for, I think it was an English degree. I was really interested in just because my parents were both English majors. And I thought, okay, of all the things I can do decently in school, writing was the one thing that I felt like I had some grasp of it. Like I did okay on my essays and things like that. So that's just kind of where my head was at. But I think underneath it all, I knew I wanted to do music and I just wasn't ready to admit that. Yeah. And so I saw that it was like a viable option for me and I could actually do it. So
totally. I mean, it's a really big decision to forego university or whatever and put your all into something like music. I know that that's not an easy choice to make. So what ultimately led you to that place where you were like, fuck it, go all in, like, let's just do it. Sorry, mom and dad. Like,
no, not even worry about it. No, I think that so at the time my parents had this agreement with me that like they would cover my tuition and they'd help cover rent and things like that. Mm-hmm. If I was going to school and I was going to get my degree. And, makes total sense. That's what my siblings did. And that's really, really, I'm really grateful that they did that for me.
Yeah.
But they said, if you want to go and commit to music, you need to cover your own expenses. You need to cover your own rent. If you're going to do that, you need to be financially stable. And I said, okay, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. And I think I got to a point where I said, okay, I have enough savings from my streaming earnings all throughout high school that I can do this and kind of get it going. And so I just said, screw it, I'm going to do it. And I told my parents and they weren't super stoked on it and they didn't really understand it for a while.
Yeah.
But I think with time and with a lot of other things that ended up happening with music later down the line, they kind of came to terms with me going into music and being in the music industry. So
good for you. That's crazy. That's so fortunate even that you had this place that you could get to that place where you could save up enough money from your streams. I was really fortunate.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. Clearly Blurry is very glad that things worked out. And I feel like this is a good moment for us to switch and start talking about The Color of Nothing. But
yes,
as part of that transition, I would love to play the video that you made for The Color of Nothing, which is another incredible, some sort of crazy animated situation. Why don't you intro us to this video? What are we about to see? What is going on? The Color of Nothing. Beautiful title, by the way. Sorry.
Thank you very much. No, you're totally fine. This is I should shout out. This video is possible from the help of Sean Kusanagi, who is the creative director for Odessa and Foreign Family, and he's been a huge help for me in a lot of my creative endeavors. And Landis and all the people at Foreign Family helped do this crazy. I wanted to do, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name right now. It's point cloud sort of technology animation style. I would probably remember the name if I looked it up, but yeah, it was a really fun video. I wanted to do something that sort of immersed you in the song, and yeah, I hope you enjoy.
Game face. Okay, I was just asking about, okay, everyone's loving the track, but I was just asking about when you opened for Odessa at the LA Historic Park and how crazy that must have been. And you were going to tell me, so tell the world.
No, that's probably a top 3 show for me, for sure. I think that just in terms of like the energy that was there, and I mean, it was such a like foreign, not that it was exclusive, but it was such a Foreign Family centric event that like all the fans were there and they knew the artists, and you just felt so welcome there. And it was just like, it was like the ideal artist festival experience, I think. So that was really, really fun. And I think that the Odessa show is like one of the coolest live shows I think I've ever seen.
Amazing.
Without a doubt. As many times as I see it, I'm always blown away by it. And so I think that even to the finale was just a huge privilege, and to play and open for it was like, it's just, so that was a huge thing. That was a really great one.
And that does tie back into The Color of Nothing, because you were talking about how you worked with their creative director on that video, and that was stunning. It's a stunning song, and it's the title of the album, so that must mean something. You're an English major. You know that when you say the title, it's important. The title of the book.
I think that I was thinking about this concept of, and you probably read this if you've read any of like the articles about the album, you know that I talk about this a lot, but I was thinking about this concept of like the idea of closing your eyes and like what you see when you close your eyes, and you can't really describe it, and it's this like indescribable hue, and it's all these colors, and I don't know why this idea of that was just sticking with me for so long, but I liked the way that it sounded, and I liked the idea of the album being sort of like that Color of Nothing, and being that blank canvas where there's no preconceived ideas. It's just everything is stripped back and you can start fresh. And I think that's what I wanted it to be, because I mean, there was not a lot of buildup or anticipation, but there were people that had heard the first album, and I guess they just expected something, and I wanted to push my sound, and I wanted to sort of bring it into a new space. So I think that's sort of what it meant to me personally, but it can mean, you know, something else to someone else. So
yeah, well, I like to hear that. I know that is something that can get artists really tripped up in their head about this, like, okay, fans are expecting a certain type of sound, or oh, I've had a lot of success with this song, so maybe I need to make 7 more songs that sound kind of like that, and that can be a dangerous trap, I think, a little bit. Speaking from an outsider's perspective.
No, you're totally right. I think that's a huge thing, and something that I deal with a lot, of like battling like where I want to push my sound, I guess. But I think what I've kind of come to, like the conclusion that I've come to, is that as long as the music I'm making is satisfying to me and I'm happy with it, I think that is what matters the most to me, because at the end of the day, like if it's not fulfilling to me, then I'm not going to enjoy making the music, and I'm not going to feel authentically about, like I'm not going to be as passionate about the music. So I think that's the place that I try to come from, and I try to keep that in mind every time I go in to make something new, is like, all right, I'm not going to worry about trying to make this sound like something I've done before. I just want to make whatever I want to make and just see how it comes out. So,
wise.
Hopefully people like it up until now. I don't know.
I mean, people seem to. It seems to be going well. When did you start working on this group of songs? Did you go into it thinking you wanted to make an album? Do you see yourself as an album artist? Because you're 21 and you've already got 2 albums, and that's pretty impressive.
I won't go much into it, but I'm already like ready to go into album 3. That's kind of where my head's at right now. So
Fuck yeah.
anyone who's watching this can know that that's where my head's at. But yeah, I think that I've talked about this before, but the previous album I did it in high school, it was kind of just really convenient how all the songs came together. I was writing them over the course of like 2 years, and they just kind of conveniently fit in this cohesive package that I wanted to put out when Foreign Family hit me up. And I think that I really enjoyed putting that together. But with this album, I definitely wanted to go into it, and build this narrative out from the beginning, and sort of like build an album that had structure and continuity, and I had a flow throughout the track list. I wanted to make something that felt even more so cohesive, I guess. So that's where I wanted to go with that. And I want to keep pushing that idea, I think, with my future projects, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. See, that's why you were an English major, because you're a storyteller. Whether you're doing it in words or music, it's all storytelling.
That's exactly right. You're right.
That's so cool. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I know that a lot of artists these days are very single driven, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I myself am a fan of a cohesive album project, so it's cool that you're running with that theme.
I just think there's something like uniquely fulfilling about an album, like a full album. Like I love doing EPs, and I love doing like a beat tape or something like that, but a full album is just like so fulfilling to do front to back. And it's a grueling experience, and this past one it kicked my butt, and I think it really taught me a lot, which is a huge part of the whole process, is that you come out the other side a better musician, which is a huge thing. So,
yeah. What's one takeaway from the making of The Color of Nothing that you didn't have before you started?
I think that one thing that I did differently with this album, or at least that I felt like I did differently, was that there were a lot of songs on the album that I started writing, and I thought they were going to, be wrapped up really quickly, because that's how my writing process was initially. Was I'd write a lot of my songs over the course of like 1 to 2 days, and I just get it completely done. Wow. And I wasn't big on like sitting on the song and like wanting to like keep, just because I think in high school especially I had that attention deficit, and so I'd work on something and then I'd be like, all right, on to the next idea, work on something, on to the next idea. And I think this album taught me the importance of coming back to ideas that you might have started a long time ago, and then really like saying, okay, I'm going to dig my feet in, and I'm just going to really work on this right now and make it something completely different. The Color of Nothing, the title track, I think that was one of the first songs that I started for the album writing process. And then I didn't touch it for a long time because I couldn't get the piano to sound right. That was like the biggest thing I remember, was I couldn't get the character and the tone of the piano to sound how I wanted it to sound, and it just wasn't fitting. And it took me probably 2 years, but eventually I finally got it to that point where I was like, this is how I wanted this song to sound when I started making it. And I think that was a huge lesson for me. So
yeah, well, worth the extra effort to get it
worth the effort
where you want it.
Definitely.
And Yumster27 was like, no way, Ford is here. I'm so late, but I'm so happy to be here right now. And we're happy that you're here, Yumster27. You totally froze, and it's fine because I can still hear you.
I froze? Is everyone just looking at me in a really like awkward?
I would say you're making a fine face. It could be way worse than it is.
If I turn my video off and turn it back on.
Yeah, give it a try. Give it a try. There it is. Perfect. Now you're great. I don't know. It's like right when you started answering that question, it just totally froze. But like I said,
I think I just started talking too fast, and then it just couldn't handle it. And so
a very innocuous face, fine face. So at least there's that. Okay. You weren't like or something. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Is I'm just gonna be like, eyelids up. Yeah, one eye like half closed. Yeah, exactly. No, none of that. Something that I really appreciate on this album, and in your music in general, but I felt like I really felt it coming through on this album, is like you just have a lot of textural sounds, and in particular, this kind of like popping that I associate with vinyl record listening, or
Yeah.
like something that's nice and worn in that way. It totally puts me in a place, and it puts me in a feeling, and so unique when we all listen to music on Spotify, right? So I'd love to hear
Yeah.
about your choices there, and like what percentage of your songs are even just this you filling it with these wonderful
Right.
noises, because I think that's something
Yeah,
people
I
don't think
mean,
about
I
that can
think
make a
that,
difference.
I love records. You can't really tell, but I got my record player right here. I leave it right next to it. It's got a bunch of crap all over it right
Oh,
now.
good. Okay, and the camera is showing us, which is great.
Okay, good.
Ooh, with the headphones too. A headphone vinyl listener.
So this is actually a funny story. I'm going off on a tangent for a second, but these
Love a
were
tangent.
the first gift that the label or Clay from Odessa gave these to me as a gift. First time I ever joined the label, and I still use these to this day. They've been my headphones ever since.
Amazing. He still uses them. Great gift.
I still use them. They're perfect. But yeah, vinyl crackle textures. I just like the warmth of it. I think I like I just like looking into sounds that even non-melodic things I think are really interesting. If anyone, I don't know if anyone watching this knows him, but if you do know my music, you know that I'm a big fan of a friend of mine who goes by the name Quickly. And
very good. Yeah.
Yeah, Graham is like probably one of the best to do it, without a doubt. I say this every time I talk about his music. And when I listen to his music, it like shift a lot of like how I wanted to approach my writing process. And he is so good at finding textural sounds and, Foley, sort of random textural vinyl crackle, tape hits, stuff like that. He's really good at finding those sounds, and he's very selective with it. And I think that taught me the importance of, getting outside of the conventional list of sounds that you might use and just try to see how you can take one sound and manipulate it into something else, how you can use vinyl crackle over a bass to add a whole nother element. I mean, it's just small things like that I think are everything when it comes to the production. It's the nuances and the things like that. So I think that's why I gravitate towards that, and that's why I like to be mindful of my sound selection.
Totally. So. Yeah, it's those little additions that can sometimes amplify whatever's going on. I already made a Bloghouse joke today, but I come from that kind of place as a dance music fan. And let me tell you, if there's one thing you learn listening to Bloghouse, is that well-placed white noise makes all the difference.
Everything. It makes all the difference. And I think that it's about being selective with it, but I think it's a huge thing. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Definitely. That's not, don't get slap happy and throw white noise on everything.
I'll just start cramming noises in there for no reason. No one wants to hear that. But I think when you do it tastefully, it can elevate, elements a ton. So
your music also has such an organic sound to it. I'd love to know if you actually do work with a lot of instrumentation, or if you use sampling a lot, or where is this kind of coming from? Is it really all electronic magic, or what's going on?
It varies. There have been times, I think, in the past where I've definitely like recorded myself playing piano, and then I go back in and try to see, all right, let me take this piano bit and chop it up and see if I can write a new pattern with it. But usually I'll have this keyboard right here by my desk. You can see it. And this is my setup. It's just my desk, my little record player.
You're in the same room you are in the Color of Nothing video, right?
Yeah, I can actually, I don't know if you can really see it, but this is the room that the Color of Nothing video was shot in. And this is the same, my little mono records on the wall up here.
Wow, so cool.
But yeah, this is just, I usually just stick with this mini keyboard, but there will be times when I have like tried to record myself playing guitar really badly, or, just things like that. Even if I can't do it, it's fun to try to record it and then mess around with it and and make it sound decent.
That's the beauty of being an electronic musician, right?
You can take any bad take and make it a good take if you really, really want to. I think that's the beauty of it. But sometimes the bad takes are the best takes, you know, like they're the happy accidents and things like that, you know, if you want to go all Bob Ross on it. So.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
As we should. Bob Ross is a genius. How about you work with a lot of vocalists, and do you participate in the lyrical writing? I mean, you said that you're pretty hands off as far as the emotional message is concerned in the moment. So how do you work with these vocalists?
I think it kind of depends on the vocalist that I'm working with. Sometimes it's like when I worked with Zach on that song, it was super, super natural. We got on the phone, I think maybe a week prior to him writing the lyrics, and we just had like a 30-minute conversation about where our mental health was at and how we were doing, just because I think at the peak of like anxiety and stress, you know, in the pandemic, a lot of my friends were feeling very isolated and feeling very discouraged with their own music and with writing new music. And so I'd get on these calls here and there with friends like that. And I got on this call with Zach, and we talked about things that were going on. And then I think that call alone was enough to kind of get us to a point where we knew what we wanted to write about, what we wanted the song's message to be about. And then it just kind of went from there. And everything that Zach wrote just resonated with me on so many levels. I think just at the time it had a very big effect on me. So there's instances where it goes very quickly and very naturally like that, but there are also instances where you might have a lot of back and forth, and, you know, I might think this take isn't quite right, and I want to like see if we can try it, you know, a different intonation of this lyric. But more often than not, I'm not very hands-on with the lyrical side of things, and I think I want to be. That's like something that I'm trying to get to, is like, can I write, you know, I want to be more hands-on with the messages I convey in my music and things like that. So one day, hopefully, I think that's what the next step will be. Is, who knows, maybe I'll throw some auto-tune on and start singing or something like that.
I highly encourage it. We were talking about how we're both Sam Gellatree fans, and he's jumping on it.
Both, Quickly and Sam G, they've both been working on their vocals. So I think a lot of other friends are thinking, dang, do we all have to start learning how to sing now? I mean, all these musicians are just like leveling up on.
You're like, shit, now I gotta do this. Well, listen, I don't think you have to do anything just because everyone else is doing it, but
no, I'm not. Yeah,
it is exciting. Yeah, it is exciting to think of, you know, because you told me you went to school, you were thinking maybe English was your place. Like, you probably do have some really interesting things to say that if you find the voice to say, yeah, I think I'm intrigued by that. Your music has so much in it. I can only imagine what would happen if you opened that next door in your brain. But no pressure, nothing crazy.
I think if I do it, it will be when I'm ready to do it. And of course. I don't want to be one of those people that start singing just because I feel like that's the next thing I need to do for my career. There's a lot of people that make that mistake and realize they can't sing. And that's okay. I mean, like that's fine. And there are a lot of ways that you can work around it. You know, not every type of singing is like, you know, the right way to do it. But yeah, I think if I do it, eventually it'll be fun. But I kind of like being able to let the music do the talking right now, which is kind of fun. And I think that when I do work with vocalists, I like to be selected there. And it's a lot less pressure for me when it's someone else that is qualified to write lyrics and to actually sing. So when I get there, I'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, you're still young, but you've lived so much life. It's crazy. Even before you were a professional musician, you were traveling the world, living in different places, being exposed to different cultures. So you've got a lot going on there. I can see where the complex sound comes from.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think that I'm just going to settle down now. I'm done with my traveling for the rest of my life. I'll find a farm
Is that where you're going?
No. I don't think I could do that.
I was like, yeah, being in Utah for a year and a half has settled these bones.
Yeah, no. Anyone that knows me and knows Utah knows it's a bubble here, and I am ready to get back to Europe, back to my family, back to that part of the world. So.
Oh, well, I'm so excited for you to do so. Quickly, no.
Good.
What's something from this year, besides obviously releasing your beautiful sophomore album, and your time in Utah, that sticks out to you, that, you know, if you were able to glean something from this weird year and this pandemic situation, what are you taking with you?
That's a really good question. I think that a lot of the memorable things have been more internal growth kind of things, if that makes any sense. I feel like this year has been a big year for mental growth, and it's just, I don't know, it's been a crazy year. That's all I could really say, is just my mental has taken a toll in a lot of ways, but I think in a lot of good ways. I think that a lot of people that I've talked to feel like they've come out, you know, the other side mentally stronger and more equipped to go about their day to day, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel like I've learned a lot about myself and my music in this year. That's probably the bottom line, is just my growth from where I used to be at until now.
Yeah.
So
what made you do the reprise? I love that you use the word reprise. I was a clarinet player all in grade school, so like,
hey, I did clarinet in band in middle school.
High five! That's so cool.
Can we do it through the camera?
Yeah.
That's kind of sick. No, yeah, I was not very good at it, but I played clarinet for like 2 years in 5th and 6th grade in our school band, and I always forgot to change my reeds out, and so they'd all get super, super disgusting.
Yuck! No.
But anyways, yeah, just clarinet things. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just going off on a tangent here.
Just you know, stuff us clarinet players would know about. Not trying to bore you.
But yeah.
6th grade clarinet dubstep is where you were at.
That was the new wave. I was going to bring a new sound to the industry in 5th grade.
Oh, and then you did. No. But yeah, so why the reprise it's really cool.
I think why did I choose to call it the reprise, or is it just like, why did I want to do the reprise in general?
Yeah. Why did you want to do it in general?
I think that I've always wanted to, I think especially in this past year, I've wanted to push some of my sound not push it, but like I wanted to do more, I guess you could say, indie related things. I wanted to strip down a lot of my songs, make them a little less electronic, and sort of go into that world of making music. And I think it's been really, really fun to explore that, just because that's something I've wanted to do for a while.
Yeah.
And I think that there were a lot of songs that I felt were really good, but they didn't, how am I trying to say this? They were great, but they didn't translate in the same way. I feel like I could have recreated them in a way that told the same song in a different story, if that makes sense. Like I wanted to, you know, shine like a new kind of context onto like In My Eyes. Like I wanted to strip it back with no vocals and very minimal percussion, and I felt like it was a very different song when I did it that way. And so I did that one and thought, okay, I kind of want to do this for the whole album and just see where it goes. And then eventually I got a lot of friends involved. Some people that I've looked up to for a while, Weird Inside, did a remix for Fruit and Sun for the reprise, and I've been a huge fan of his music for years. So it was a really, really, really fun project. And I think that I'm just glad that it came together so cohesively and it felt natural. So.
Well, thoroughly enjoy it. Glad that you dared to go there. It's cool. These songs, you spend so much time with them. You know, they don't have to just exist in one way. And speaking of that, are you planning or considering bringing these songs to life maybe one day when shows happen again?
I've actually really thought about if I'd want to play anything from the Reprise, any kind of stripped back music live. I still get too much stage fright, and I get too nervous on stage to like do some sort of full instrumentation thing. But I'd love to do it. I think it'd be really fun to break a set down and not just be, DJing or, using all this equipment, but actually playing the music. And I think that's something I want to get to at some point. I don't know if I'll be doing it for this coming tour, but I think that after things start ramping up again and people get back into the flow of things, that's something that I can start looking towards. So,
well, it's exciting. You're already working on album 3. You're building yourself toward lyric. You're doing it all right. The kid's got goals, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Ford, we're coming up on our hour, and
perfect.
It's been so much a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, it's honestly my pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. And of course, if there's anything else that you want to say to the good people of the world while you have this platform, please do share, but no pressure.
What do I have to say? Just take care of each other and check up on your friends. Just spread love. That's really my bottom line message. Pretty much half the time, it's just like there's not enough love in this world right now. We got to be more supportive of each other and look out for each other. So
yeah, that's the message.
And have a great day.
Yeah.
That's
the message I'm always trying to, well, since the pandemic, that's what I've really tried to internalize, is just to be kind to yourself, be kind to everybody else, because it's a shit show. And finally, we're going to watch Fruit and Sun on the way out. So I know you worked with that same animator from In My Eyes on this one, and I love this one. It's an instrumental. It's beautiful. What do you got to say about it? Fruit and Sun. The fruit can't be made without suns. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is just, no, you're perfectly fine. For the Fruit and Sun music video, this is just a really fun visualizer. I wanted to stay along the lines of the In My Eyes video that we did. And I gave him some very loose kind of guidelines when I came to him about working on another video. And I just said, I want to focus on these things. And here's the album art imagery for reference. And we went back and forth, and he just made this really, really beautiful visualizer. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And thank you again so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I hope we get to meet each other in the wild one day.
Yes, that would be awesome.
If you're still in Utah, I'll find you. I don't know.
You will find me. You will come and you will find me. We'll make it happen.
We'll do it. All right. Thank you so much, Ford. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
See you.